Hello, this is Derrick from the dznpodcast. I am one of your hosts, and we are here with, state your name, Zoe.
Young Pluto or Alfonso.
Nas isn't here. He's doing what he's supposed to do, getting money. But we also have a guest in the building this afternoon. State your name, sir.
I am Derrick Hefner, or as most know me in the music industry, mrheffd.
All right. Now that we got that out the way, let's get hit with this music, though.
Nice song from Dream State.
Y'all feeling good? Y'all all right?
Not too bad.
Cool. Anything new and exciting in your lives as of late?
Nah, just keeping up with the NBA. That's about it. I'm trying to.
Everybody's going to the Lakers.
I don't know. I think it's going to be evened out across a lot of teams.
True. The Clippers actually got a team. That's the first time in a while they had a team.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't count the Derrick, Blake Griffin, and Chris Paul.
Well, they still had a team, though.
Yeah, because they had DeAndre Jordan. I mean, they had Blake, CP3. They had a squad.
That's Kawhi Leonard. All three of those guys are just Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Got a quick one?
Got a quick one?
Got a quick 8?
I don't know. You got something more aggressive?
Let's see about this one.
This is it. Alright. Quick question, where did our minds go? It's like people walking around with a blindfold. My time's gone, the old times is gone. People looking at me like I'm strong, but I'm really holding on to what I think though. A lot of people trying to really wait. Hold up, I don't got that one loaded yet. Hold up.
Alright. Say you loaded, but it ain't a gun. I'm talking on the freestyle, but it's really something. It's really nothing, but I'm coming up my mouth though. Brain MC on the lyrics and I beat though. I made a beat though. My name is Retro. Throw it back, put it in the new with the sound though. I make you know why it's coming like how come. Now you see me on the track and it's how come. I'm so nice at this instant where I'm at. I'm at where I stand. I'm so tall at. I'm only 6 feet, but I act like I'm 8 feet. I crush up anybody on this fucking beat. Like I'm the Hulk, like I'm a bandstand, like I'm American, but I'm still a black man. Goddamn, I'm saying something, man. But if you really think about it, man, it's nothing, man.
Right. Flows and hitting, I get to spitting and then get riddance. I kill these people with the pencil. Hot as sizzle, cold as a blizzard. My niggas know that I'm going, put the pistol to their gizzard. Bunch of cluster fucks, they don't know what go what up. On the bottom, half these niggas cover me up. Cause these niggas lunch, all I do is eat, that's a bunch.
That was good cadence. I like that. I did like that. It's slow, and then but you come in.
Thank
Yeah.
You on quick 4?
Oh heck no! I am not a rapper. I'm a producer, engineer, music business guru, but I am not a rapper.
All right, man. Let's cut this off. Man. All right, but yeah, man. Welcome to the DZN podcast. Once again, I am Dre, and we are here for episode 20. Got 20 episodes, man. It's been a long time coming, long ways, man. So, we do have a guest, and as he said, he is engineer / producer / music publishing guru. Explain a little bit how you came in the game.
Gosh, how far back you want me to go? I know we've talked, at my house for hours, but how far back you want me to go?
I say give the people as much as they can take from this.
All right. Well, in order, I mean, because music is, I mean, it surpasses race and it surpasses so many things. So I'll quickly say this. So biologically, I'm white, but my mom that raised me since I was 5 is black. So I was raised in a black household. So from that, and I think I told you this a couple weeks ago, that I was raised around like true jazz, you know, the Louis Armstrongs, the Billie Holidays, you know, even getting newer, you know, the Bob James, David Sanborn, because that's how, you know, that's what my mom would play, you know, when you're cleaning house and, you know, but my dad, and I always say this, I love my dad to death, you know, I look just like him, but he's a goofy white dude. So he was, you know, the Beach Boys and, you know, Steely Dan and Fleetwood Mac, you know, so I had the best of both worlds. Well, the good thing is that my sister, my stepsister, listened to like hip hop, because I mean, I was born in the 70s. I'm older than I look, you know. So then I came up, you know, with the inception of hip hop. So I'm always, you know, like listening in the hallway from a bedroom. You know, my sister was 7 years older than me. So the reason I'm giving this story is because from listening to these songs, my mind didn't just listen, you know, and kind of bebop or whatever. Like, oh yeah, you know, this is great. You know, my mind actually broke down. I'm like, man, I hear what they're doing in the production, you know. I want to know how they're doing that. I want to know, you know, how they're putting this stuff in. So long story short, let's fast forward. So 16, right? I graduated high school at 16. So right before I graduated, I got a production deal with Dolo Productions. I'm from the DC area. So they were actually affiliated with a top-notch label. And I learned some things, but it was a very short, my dad signed the contract and whatnot, but it was a very short-lived because the pieces didn't all align, so they went defunct. So there was my music career. I mean, you know, even though it kind of like started and ended, you know, at the same time. With that said, you know, I was always into music and always, you know, somewhat in the scene in DC. But of course, when I graduated, I went to college, I played ball at a top-notch school, and I was only there a couple of years, and then went to the military. So I kind of always, my brain was always working and going, you know, but never really understood the intricacies of music, you know, as far as being in the studio for a long time, you know. So anyways, I get out the military, and I go to the Barnes & Noble here in Raleigh, North Carolina at Crabtree, and from, I think it was like about 3.5 hours, I pulled the book off the shelf, I read it, and it was How to Start and Run Your Own Record Label by Deanna Schwartz. So I think I showed you that book. And so from picking that book up, and I didn't buy it, not because I was being cheap. I wanted to make sure it was actually real, you know, that I could do stuff. So 3.5 hours, put the book back on the shelf, went downtown Raleigh, opened my first record label legally. And from there, it was School of Hard Knocks. You know, I was, I mean, I'm pretty high strung, pretty high energy, but, you know, when I don't know things, I'm very honest about it, you know. So I try to kind of sync up with people who are either doing it on a small level or, you know, try to sync up with studios, and, you know, always kind of kept getting brushed off. So I got pissed off and just was like, you know what, you know, because I mean, I'm genuine. I never, you know, say, oh, I can do this and do that, and I can't do it, because that's how you lose credibility. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I just kind of learned things, and you've seen my music book collection, I mean, and just read and read and read. And then I was still trying to sync up, you know, the frustration I had. I was doing everything on my own, which is not entirely a bad thing, but when there's so many moving pieces, it's a lot. So I end up syncing up with a gentleman. I won't say his name. I don't want to name drop, but I synced up with a gentleman. He was starting a company. He was a top intern at one of the biggest studios here in Raleigh. And I mean, I bugged the nonsense out of him for months, you know, and he was doing that thing where he was trying to brush me off, you know. Finally, he was like, dude, this dude ain't quitting. So he brought me on board, and he asked me, you know, do you know anything about music publishing? And I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea about music publishing. I just came clean. He was like, look, buy this book, you know, Make Music, Make Money by Eric Beale. And that's been my Bible, you know. So I read that. And of course, music publishing is music law, and music law is derived from Latin. So it's I'm reading this book and I'm just like lost. I mean, I got some of it, very little, but I'm like, oh, you know, this is just ridiculous. So anyways, I just kept pushing. And then I ended up cold calling labels. Like, I'm talking the major labels. Well, ended up befriending a good person. She's out of Atlanta, and she was the right hand to the president of Def Jam. So I built that rapport, and pretty much my job was the company that I was with was called TIC, the Industry Connect. And initially I was just like kind of brought on and whatever, but the music publishing side, you know, was really needing to be pushed forward. So I represented the catalog for TIC. So the owner and the other gentleman, I'm trying not to name drop. So but they did all the production, all the songwriting, everything was done in house, and I'm talking it's some phenomenal stuff. So I took the catalog, and I think they were testing me, the two of them from TIC, and they were like, look, you know, take these, I think it was like 30 or 40 songs, and they were like, listen to them, tell us who you think, like from a major label perspective, who do you think, you know, should go on these tracks? So of course I'm listening to them like Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, you know, this person, that person. So I went through them. And I even did, like, I didn't just, like, for one song, it could be, like, per se, like a Lil Wayne and, like, somebody else. You know, I didn't just pigeonhole us. So I presented it to the two of them from TIC, and they were like, yo, like, he's dead on. I mean, as far as, like, how, you know, I know the cadence of all the different, you know, rappers, and then, of course, I know how singers sing and all that. So they were like, yeah, we feel comfortable with him representing this. So anyways, long story short, I ended up from cold calling and using this book, Make Music, Make Money, I ended up syncing up with Def Jam, Universal, and Sony. So Def Jam was a huge I'm trying to think of the word, like not only a learning curve, but I learned a lot from my contact at Def Jam. And was just real raw and honest, but I was professional and I was respectful, and I think that stood out. And my energy, you know, I'm very persistent, but I am respectful and polite and, you know, and professional. So we ended up getting, I want to make sure it was either 3 or 4 songs. I know 3 at the minimum. We had a album on Rick Ross's Port of Miami. We had a song, and when I say we, it's TIC, but I'm giving credit to the two that did the songwriting and production and publishing. And it was Rihanna's, I always forget the album that Rihanna did with Umbrella was on it. I always call it the Umbrella album because I call it her Black album. But it was that album. And then, in fact, I just found my book where this morning, as a matter of fact, it's ironic. But this book, I like literally have all of, from like, this is like back in 07, 08. Like I wrote down like dates and time and who I talked to at the labels and whatnot. I haven't seen it in years. But and then there was another, I think it was Brother, was a Def Jam's R&B like kind of boy band or whatever. So anyways, so they took the songs, we got paid an initial amount of monies, and I negotiated, you know, what the music publishing rate would be past that. Well, unfortunately, and I always give credit to where credit's due. Shakir Stewart was the president of Def Jam when we were on. Jay-Z had just left to start Rock Nation. So at that time, Jay-Z was president of Def Jam. Shakir Stewart was vice president. When Jay-Z left, Shakir took over. And Shakir was awesome. And I'm not just saying it because what ended up happening was kind of tragic. He ended up committing suicide. And my contact at Def Jam called me. I was one of the first few, you know, that she called and let me know. Well, the reason I tell this story is because all of the projects that we had on those high-profile albums got shelved. And the reason they got shelved is because you had a new regime come in. I don't know if you remember me talking about this at the Handsome Audio event. So they got shelved. So we learned, like, holy crud, you know, whoever thinks, you know, when you're on a project and things are going well, I mean, anything can happen, but you're like, you know, the rapport has been great, but the regime changed when Shakir unfortunately committed suicide. So they had a completely different idea of what they wanted for these albums. And the albums, I think, if I always get my timeline messed up, but when you release projects from labels, you do it by quarters. So of course there's 4 quarters in a year. And I think this was supposed to be coming out like somewhat in the 4th quarter of It was either 07 or 08. But anyways, everybody's project, like all of, and no lie, all of hip hop, not just Def Jam, all of hip hop kind of stopped. Just everybody stopped because they were paying homage to Shakir. So all those projects, especially on Def Jam, just got pushed into the next year, but they ended up shelving us. And when they shelve you, there's a clause in the contract that says that if they don't end up using it, no matter whose fault it is, whatever, they still can hold on to it for a year. Right. So you've got your project and you're like, man, I could shop this to somebody else. Whatever. Nope. You got it. It's held for a year. So, I learned through this whole process, and through doing that, not only because of course I was, the vice president for music publishing with TIC, but I started looking into I wasn't happy with major labels to begin with, but I was playing that game. So I ended up just through the years and years and years. And of course, I produce and I've engineered some of the top studios as an intern and whatnot. And I just formulated my own, because I look at myself, yes, I'm a music publishing guru, but I look at myself more as a music business guru with a emphasis on music publishing, because I know the ins and outs and know how to navigate. And, the music game from the major perspective is just not built from a business model standpoint. It's not built well. It's not really built for the artist, because you got to look at major music labels as banks. I mean, that's because when you get, like, you always hear the word back in the day, advance, I get an advance, I get an advance. That's just a loan. And you never, what a lot of artists don't understand is, let's say, you sign up my label and I'm like, yo, you hot, 100,000, boom, there you go, that's your advance. Well, what people don't realize is that, or artists don't realize, is that you don't see a penny of any money until I recoup my money, period. Even if you're, like, let's say the percentage, let's say we go in a 50-50 deal, Right. So a lot of artists, they're like, okay, 50-50, I got the $100,000 advance, okay. And then you always hear about, I always use, talking with you, Dre, like the TLC story where, like, TLC was on and popping and huge, and they're like, yeah, we broke. I mean, like, we ain't got no money. Like, we've never, because the label kept charging them for everything. Studio time, tour buses, the tour, this and that. I mean, like, it all adds up. So that $100,000 advance you end up owing me, like, potentially, like, millions. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. And then I'm talking, there's nobody that can deny this. I mean, from a major, label perspective. And it just depends on how your contract is derived. But, that's how artists end up getting the shaft. And even though, yes, they floss, and even now, they floss and whatnot, like, yeah, they took that advance money and either bought the car or, they go into and they buy these fancy houses and stuff. But a lot of times, banks and loan institutions, to a degree, will loan you money based off the merit of your star power. Because they know you're making something. Yeah. They know in some form or fashion, to a degree, depending on what pinnacle of stardom you're at, they can end up getting the money, or they can, put, cease letters on stuff and, get their money back. I mean, it's all a huge, unfortunate, like, legal game. But artists don't understand that. So I have this platform now called Own Yourself, Be Discovered. And it deals with, pretty much I consult for independent artists, some companies, and I explain to them, I'm very raw and real about what I call the old traditional business models for the music industry. And I'm very clear about it, very blatant. And by the way, I'm not an entertainment attorney. I can speak with the best of them. I can hang with the best of them. I am not an attorney, but, and I advise go out there and get an awesome entertainment attorney. Because the point, and then some people may say, well, what's the point of, you, Derrick, or Hef? And it's like, well, I'm a consultant, so I'm a lot cheaper than an attorney, because an attorney is going to cost you $100 up to hundreds of dollars an hour. So you can, hire me. I can, like, pretty much lay everything out, explain what kind of, in more broader detail, what I'm explaining now. And then when you go to your entertainment attorney, you're lined up. I mean, there may be a couple things you have to do, but you're good to go. So you're not spending as much money on an attorney, because, I mean, like, if you come raw and go to an attorney and they charging, anywhere, $150, $200, $300 an hour, that money adds up quick.
Yeah,
I mean,
same thing as going to like Wake Tech, for instance.
Yep.
Before you go, yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's a perfect example. Think about it. Wake Tech. You can go there and take transferable credit courses that are NC State certified courses. Take your 2 years, whatever you want to do, transfer to NC State, and you've spent less than half the money. I mean, that's the kind of, so that's a great way to put it is I'm like the Wake Tech. I'm like the Wake Tech. Yeah, I mean, you're getting real stuff. There's no smoke and mirrors. I'm very transparent, but then you can go and take that and do what you need to with it. I know that was like really long, but I mean, I didn't know any other way to kind of condense it down,
But yeah, so you really had a book as your mentor, like for most of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, and it's not like cry me a river and feel sorry for me, but the whole point of it, I don't want to see other people go through that because I mean it's yes you learn, but it's actually quite sad, especially because I'm always one for and more importantly than just trying to get people to pay me, I'm also about seriously building relationships in the building something to where then the money's can come through or can be built upon and all that, because you can sit here and, and I always tell, who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to an artist and I was like, look, there doesn't always have to be the exchange of money, green, every interaction. What I mean by that, like say, for example, you're an artist and you need a video done for your song. And, you have, a small little team or whatever, and you got a, producer, it's on your squad. You can say, hey, so-and-so, can you produce, quick song track for something that this videographer is doing, and you all sit and talk, and what you're doing or providing from the artist's perspective to the videographer and vice versa. If you all can sit and, collectively say, okay, what I need from you is worth this amount, and what I can provide is of equal or maybe a couple bucks less, and you all can agree upon that, you can trade services. You don't need to trade, it doesn't, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand, money pays bills and all that, but depending on, and I'm talking about like, having a contract and just saying, hey, look, I'm doing this for you, you're providing me this, right. That's a great way to build rapport, and to, even though that person may not be exclusively on your team, but that's a way to have someone that does a service that you need kind of accessible on the team, for the team. So.
Knowledge.
I feel like, that like helped me. Like my mind is like got a massage from that noise.
See, you need a lot of stuff's being thrown at you. Sometimes you gotta hit a button or just have a moment to just sit and process. Cause when stuff like that happens, you getting talked to for about and you just getting put on game for life or whatever. You need something that you can just
break it up,
sit down and process, and not just like, what in the world? Because if you just sit and take it, your head gonna explode.
Yeah.
Just like learning about how certain things in the world may work, you find that out. It's like from a kid, being a naive kid, you find that out. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do now. I thought life was like this before. Now this was really about. So sometimes you gotta process and just sit by yourself. It's like, all right.
Oh, wait, I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, even if I'm not mistaken, scientifically, like when you read anything, your brain only retains 20 to 30% of whatever you're reading or engaged in. So if you try to like sit there, like people say, oh, I'm cramming for school or whatever, like, yeah, good luck. I mean, because you can cram all you want to, but your brain's only going to retain so much.
Yeah, that's why you got to keep rereading and relearning it and actually applying.
Yep.
Because if you never apply what you learn, then you're not going to retain anything.
Yeah. That's why they say use it or lose it.
Facts. Now, sir, Zoe, do you have any questions for Mr. Derrick over here?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, like, if you were, like, you're a really early artist, like, you just bought your first mic, but you want to be, like, global, like, what is your first step for getting your music out to as many people as possible?
Well, honestly,
I would say Instagram, but like at the same time, like that's still hard.
YouTube. Just honestly, like, don't put out your best work, but put out work that's going to be enough to say people will listen. Just
like
think about
like it's still like a very small audience. Like build it?
No,
Basically, how do you build your
I'm gonna
audience?
blow your mind. So, do your music, your production. You know, I mean, go to a great studio like AMI. Seriously, that has people that know what they're doing, and so then you get in that top notch quality music. But do the social media platforms. With that said, you also need to be building relationships with other platforms like music forums, anywhere that there are, per se, other producers and artists and fans and engaging. Because here's the thing, why the number one question that you need to play in your mind constantly is, why should anybody, and it doesn't matter who, I mean, fan, producer, music company, whatever,
Listen.
why
To my stuff.
yeah, why should they invest in me? Like, why should they listen? And when I say invest, I mean time. Because think about it. When I say invest, it doesn't mean monetary. It means time. It means just giving of oneself in whatever format. So why should they invest in me? So, but if you're in these different chat rooms or forums, and of course having your stuff still on social media platform, then people are going to start noticing, if you engage in, just think of what I'm saying, like, as a online podcast. I mean, like, you're in there and you're talking to people and, just kind of, and it's not only like going in there saying, hey, listen to my, because the biggest thing I hate, is everybody's always, listen to my stuff. And that's like, I get it, but it's kind of like, why don't you come and say, hey, and have a conversation. Like, oh, what do you do? And it's like, oh, what, and then that's why I started with my story where I was a kid, my stepmom and all that, because that's great if I come in here and go, hey, I'm a, music business guru. And it's like, all right, well, who's this freaking dude? I mean, you want to be not only relatable and be genuine, but it's more to the game than just going, hey, listen to my stuff. So if that makes any sense. I mean, but also too, with the social media platforms is, I advise every artist, because it doesn't cost that much money, is to have a website, a .com, and then having your social media platforms, like, because of course I guess the biggest one, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and I think Twitter's kind of dying. I mean, Twitter's used, but it's kind of going out. But at least those big three, and then I'm not discounting YouTube, but those three have each one linked to each other, and then have all those social media platforms linked to your .com. So anytime somebody finds you, they can either, if they find you on your .com, they can look at your social media platforms, go, ooh, and then hit there. And then if they find you from the social media platforms, they can go look at your other social media platforms or go to your .com. It's got to be a revolving cycle.
What are some things to avoid when you're trying to, like, get your name out there?
To avoid, I won't say necessarily avoid, but just be smart. If you have to spend money, I know we talked about exchange of services, but if you, like, for example, like, building your website, that stuff you have to pay for, with a card or cash, but be strategic. Like, it's probably worth paying for, your website month to month, versus doing a whole annual thing, just because you're like, it's not a matter of trying to think negative and go, oh man, I may not last, but yeah, you're paying more when you pay per month, but you may have to change some things, or you may have to do some things differently. So, and if you're not sure, like, for example, like, let me back up further. I actually wanted to be an artist, because I was a choir kid. So, I could sing, and, of course, at this time, of course, you got the Justin Timberlakes, and you got, so I'm like, okay, so there's white dudes that, you had John B back in my day, so there were very few, but a couple white dudes that could actually sing. So I'm like, all right, I want to do this. And then as I started getting into it, and, was going in the studio back in the day, I was like, you know what? I really don't enjoy this as much. I enjoy more the production, more of the, engineering side than I do as being an artist. Now, I'll drop some, hooks or some, lines or whatever, even in some stuff today. But I wasn't as pumped about being an artist. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say just kind of be strategic and not throwing all your eggs in one basket, because things can shift just naturally.
So going back to the kind of you wanting to be a engineer instead of an artist, is it better to kind of be a jack of all trades, a master at none, or a master at one and not a jack of all trades?
See, my personal opinion is I'd rather be, you know, kind of into everything in a master of none. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, because here's the thing. That's how a lot of artists, like especially on major labels, have gotten shafted, because they didn't know a little bit of enough of something to go, hold on. I mean, yeah, I mean, how can I explain this? Like, so if you knew a little bit about, I mean, I'm talking very tiny of like music publishing or contracts. I mean, yeah, you know, you may not be an attorney, but you can go, hold on, something hold on, I've seen that word somewhere. I don't know if I like that, you know, versus if you don't know anything, then it's kind of like you get shafted and you're like, well, I didn't know. You know, I mean, and then you find out like super the hard way, you know. So that's my opinion. I'd rather know a little bit about, you know, whatever, and then because you can still be a master of one thing over here, but still know, you know, a little something over here. So it's just a matter. And to me too, the reason I say that is because if you try to like, you know a little bit of everything, then you can choose from there. I want to learn this, or I really want to know this, or I know I don't like this. I want to concentrate myself into this. It gives you a broader and better perspective of what you may want to just hone yourself in on, if that makes any sense.
Right. So advice to artists and producers, what about building and putting out their catalog? Should they put it out for free on these platforms, or try to look at as soon as they start making it and it gets to a point where it's kind of good, monetizing off of it?
Both. So you can, to me, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me because I get in all kinds of conversations going against this. If I believe radio, and I understand it's jacked up because like radio, like your local driving down, you know, in your car radio, local stations. I think that type of music should be free, because from the perspective of, yes, you put time or money into your project or projects or album or whatever, records. And, but I think anything like your streaming platforms, local radio, I think that all should be free. Like you shouldn't expect anything out of it. First off, because it's hard as crap to navigate. And in fact, I was just watching, for all you out there, real quick, I want to do a plug. Jeff Price, he's actually the owner and co-founder of TuneCore. So if you know about TuneCore, and that's a whole digital distribution platform stuff, look up Jeff Price if you don't know who he is. Dude is phenomenal. But even he's got a thing on YouTube where he's talking about like they've design stuff like these streaming platforms and major labels and all that to where it's, you know, just insane to try to figure out how to get your money. So instead of spinning your wheels, you know, kind of in the back of your mind, anything that you want to like streaming or local radio, chalk it up as, I'm just trying to get my stuff out there. I'm trying to do it smart, but I'm not going to get paid off that. Where you should look at getting paid is trying to call up and act like you got 2 bits of sense and act professional, but call up like movie studios, whether they're like, you know, B films or, you know, top notch, you know, movie companies. And we're talking like per se, like Screen Gems and like, you know, companies that make the movies, not like, you know, the ones that are putting it out. But then look at syncing up with marketing agencies, because they're the ones that make the commercials for Geico and, you know, Allstate and whatever, you know, else, the other companies. And just maybe syncing up with other, you know, artists and producers and seeing, you know, without seeming grimy or whatever, but just seeing like what they're doing. And if, you know, you have a particular production style, 'cause I know a lot of artists try to dabble in production as well and whatnot, you know, so just see if there's something that you can offer that can help make the collective money, you know, beside yourself.
I don't think people, especially artists and producers, upcoming anyway, understand the TV, the commercial, the movie bag.
Yeah,
that's a serious type of bag. Because I remember seeing a podcast or interview where Pusha T had the original McDonald's commercial.
Yeah, I know all about that. Yep. Da 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 da.
And he passed.
Yep.
No, he didn't pass on. He just sold it. He didn't get royalties.
He sold
on
it. Yep. He sold it. I'm loving it. Yeah, he sold that. And here's the thing. That's why, you know, I always tell people, you know, to use people like me. I mean, because, I mean, if you're coming in the game, you know, hopefully you're doing, you know, a little bit of research. I mean, when I say a little bit, I mean, because there's so much out there. There's so much noise. You know, you're trying to cipher through, like, is this, is this shit real, or is this is whatever. But trying to sync up with people and vet people. I mean, I get questioned to death. Like people are like side eye looking at me like what have you done? Well, I mean, this is what I've done. You know what I mean? And there's no denying it. So that's why you want to sync up with people who. And I've been far removed. Like I stepped out the game for a little bit just because there was so much noise going on, and the shifting with the digital platforms and all that. I took a step back, but I've come back in now that I'm retired. Because I'm retired military. Yeah, I mean, just trying to sync up with people who aren't full of crap. I mean, even as a new artist, that's the best way to to tell you to try to get in where you fit in.
Being and involved in the team, very important. Knowing people that do what you do, very important. Because think about it. If you only know you, how can you get better? If you only have a team of you, how can you track the marketing, the analytics, the money going in and out of different places, different types of platforms, the websites you need to be getting in and trying to figure out how they work? Just think, it's a lot of stuff you need to know how to do to be able to get into the millions and billions of dollars. So if it's just you only gonna go but so far. You might not even get off the ground because it's a whole lot of work and time. And you're trying to be creative on top of knowing the business. But you still can do it. But it still takes away because it's a lot of time to learn each of these things. So,
well, and I'll tell you this, especially and it doesn't matter when I use artist cliche, but it's artists, producers, whatever. When you start out, and I've been saying this for decades. Yeah, if you have a a good friend that's like, yo, that's hot, yeah, that's all right. I mean, as long as they're giving you seriously, around here, a lot of people call me the Simon Cowell. Locally, just because I don't just go, yeah, that's horrible. I'll say it's horrible and this is why. And I'm literally critiquing it, or even if I say, oh, that's hot, this is why. Don't get caught in that trap, where everybody around you, is a yes man, or they just don't. I mean, don't come out and be like, your shit sucks. Just go do something with yourself. I mean, you don't do that either. But when you got people like, your family, oh, baby, no, that's just so great. I mean, like, okay, she's, your mom, grandma, they got to say that. I mean, so take it with a grain of salt. But you want people who either, even if somebody's not like really doing it, but it's a unbiased, viewpoint, take that with constructive criticism and take it with a grain of salt, but also kind of sync up with people who are somewhat doing it locally, or have an legitimate understanding in the industry, because that's what's going to help you grow. Because I mean, if you're sitting in your house and just recording yourself, or making your own beats and whatnot, nobody ever hears it, what's the point? I mean, like you're not getting better, I mean, you're not learning how to grow from that.
Yeah. So in order to just put it out, but have different people hear it. You can't have your homies here. You can't have just your parents hearing it, because you don't know how good it is until you get somebody that's not your people's.
I'm telling you, believe it or not, because I know back in the, and they still did it in the early 2000s, but like the 80s and 90s, your best way of gauging things. Now, as far as, going in the studio and knowing how, you mix and master and engineer, you really need to go to like a studio to get that, perfection of that nature. But once you get a project, I'm telling you, do what they did in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Go out in the street, find somebody or find people you don't know and go, what do you think about this? And don't even say, oh, this is me. Just say, what do you think about this? And it don't matter if it's hip-hop, rock, whatever, and just say, what do you think about this? And you're going to get some real, raw, honest feedback. They're either going to be like, hey, I like that, or hey, I don't know, that sucks. And you can go, okay. But then ask, okay, all right, well, why does that suck? And here's the thing, and if people are telling you, even if it's people close to you, like I just said, they go, oh, it's great, or it sucks. Why? Ask them why.
Because then they gotta like.
Well, not only that they got, but even if they're like, I don't know, and it's like, all right, well, not to be mean, your review or your opinion means shit. I mean, seriously, I mean, Because I don't mind somebody close to me critiquing, but I want to know why. Because I'm not offended either way, you know, by what they're saying. You have to have also that tenacity to just be like, man, you know I'm hearing this and I do like it. And, you know, even if you're comparing it to stuff that's, you know, and what I mean by comparing, I don't mean like you're pretty much almost copying something that's out on radio or out on YouTube or whatever. I always listen, like, because I said how my brain works. I listen for is my sound as far as the clarity and the crispness and, you know, how, you know, things are, you know, mixed in. Does it sound like that? You know, that whole professional sound. That's what I'm always wanting to do better and know better and figure it out, or have somebody do it that knows what the heck they're doing, that I can tell that they know what they're doing. You know, that's what I'm talking about, you know, so that way you're always pushing yourself. But yeah, if you don't have any viable, legitimate, unbiased feedback, you're just spinning your wheels.
Yeah, because like a lot of people out here, they're putting out music, and it's oversaturated. But everybody likes sound. So if you just play it for somebody random on the street, if they like it, they're going to tell you. And if they don't like it, they're going to tell you. Because music is universal. Everybody likes music. Different types, different forms, different aspects, whatever. But everybody will continue to listen because it's just a way of life. Just think about it. If the world lived without sound, what would we be doing? It would be just a bunch of deaf people walking around not knowing where to put ourselves.
Well, it's funny you say that, because if you actually look, you know, with like music theory and all that, like the whole point of, I mean, it was more, you know, super, I won't say dumbed down, but it was, you know, you don't have all the different, you know, pieces in music. Music was initially created for communication amongst tribes. That's exactly what music was created for. You know, they would hit certain things, you know, if they created their own drums and whatnot, to either create a warning or to create, you know, I mean, it's silly, it's dinner time. I mean, like, you know, it was a way of communication. I mean, so music is communication. I mean, that's what it was from its inception, before, you know, people really started getting on and popping, you know, from I can even go way back to what's called sheet music, you know, for like, you know, back in like the 1800s and whatnot, when they were playing piano, and then somebody got the bright idea to create sheet music so that way they could sell it. So that's how they started making money on music, you know, besides just, you know, hey, pay me a couple bucks to sit in your bar and play piano, you know. Dude, I mean, I got a lot of knowledge, sorry.
And if you think about it, if you're a communications major in college, you have to, if you say something that's out of the norm, people are naturally just going to click to it because, yo, I never heard that before. Mm-hmm. Or if you got a sound that's out of this world and so different, but it's just like, yo, where's that coming from? How did this person make that? So kind of the juxtapose artists and producers, try to make something nobody has ever heard before. Obviously, you're going to be dragging from past sounds and past lyrics or whatever, because nothing's really original. It's just remixed and remade. So it's just keep trying to create and define your own sound, because it's a lot of music that's the same. But if you make it that's the same, at least make it in your own way that's so crisp and so kind of out of the ordinary from that people are just like, yo, this is the best in this arena.
That's kind of crazy. It's kind of hard to do that, because like the main thing you do to get better at music is listening to a lot of music and like having a good understanding of what makes a good song. So like you have to listen to other people's crap, and then like when you write, it's probably what's taking like control. So I feel like you should not, when you first start rapping, I feel like you should just like take what you've heard, right, and just like make your own sound first. And then after you like write for a year what you really think is rap, and then like start listening to other rap and like start using their tools, like the way they rhyme, to help you out, help you convey your message. Because that way it's not already watered down by the time. Because like a lot of stuff is good. A lot of people can write good raps, but it's not all original.
But a lot of people can rap, but they ain't saying nothing either.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know if this was going to segue. I mean, the hardest problem I'm having, I mean, I'm older in age, but, you know, like this whole, well, I guess it's clarified, mumble rap, you know, like the issue that I'm having, because now I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible, because I've, you know, been in the music industry, is, like when I was growing up, when I told you, you know, I was listening to my sisters, you know, what is she listening to? You know, and you had like, you know, Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff. Parents just don't understand. And of course, even I know before then you had Run DMC, and even before then you had as ironic. Well, actually, even before Sugar Hill Gang, disco was kind of like the entrance into hip hop, in my opinion. But listening to all the people I just named, you had people going, "Oh, that's what noise is this? This is just junk and anarchy," and so kind of we're having the same thing with, the mumble rap, genre. But I'm looking past, and I'm looking at these artists, and I'm listening to music, and I'm just like, I don't want to sound like an old head, but I'm like, they're not like there's no genuine like music. I mean, you can take out the artist, take out the rap, just even listening to some of the production, not all of it is bad by any means, I'm not saying that, but like I'd say 3/4 of it at the minimum is horrible, and I'm just like, what, like, why? I don't understand. I mean, I understand you want to do something different, something you haven't heard before, and I'm down with that, but I just don't understand. And even if you get different artists, even the cadence is the same, and it's like I really don't understand. I mean, and I'm trying to be open-minded because I was a kid during the era of when they were like, rap was just coming out, and they were like, this shit ain't gonna last that long. This is gonna be short-lived. Give it a couple years. And of course now, every major car company, insurance company, everything is using hip hop. I mean, even hip hop isn't, because hip hop isn't just about music. Hip hop is a culture, and that's also, why a lot of people don't understand that hip hop has far surpassed any and everything a lot of, and I can say this, a lot of white people, a lot of white executives thought. I mean, I'm just gonna be real, and of course now and then you had your pioneers, like Jimmy Iovine, and I've taught, Jimmy Iovine is great. The reason I was making a face is because I was thinking about Clive Davis, because I mean, Clive Davis isn't a horrible person. I'm not knocking him, but I've always catered to people who kind of saw like genuine, not just for, don't get me wrong, business is about money. If you ain't making money or you're not moving forward, you ain't doing anything, which is true. But I try to look at, I don't know, like, I guess growing up in a black family, and the way that I was, I won't say taught, because believe it or not, everything that I do, I saw everything, if that makes any sense. Like my stepmom kind of sort of did, but didn't teach me how to dress. Like I saw how she dressed, and I was like, you know what, that's what's up, and then I listened to the music she was listening to. I'm like, that's what's up. She didn't tell me I had to listen to it. It just kind of became me. You know what I'm saying? So I look at people in the industry that are really trying to propel the industry. So if that makes any sense.
Pretty much, you're basically saying you're looking at people that's trying to kind of uplift.
Yeah, like I feel like if you're a musician, you got a lot. Like it's not, you have a lot on your shoulders, because you got to give people something they can improve their life. Like like stopping someone from killing themselves, for example. Like you have a big like responsibility on your shoulders, and some of the guys are just talking about like taking pills and stuff.
But do they? Reason I say but do they, because anybody could pick up a mic and start rapping. Anybody could pick up a beat machine or a beat program and start making beats. And if they make money off of what they saying and it's detrimental, and somebody signs them for it.
But like I'm talking about like more of like a superhero. Like a superhero, like you expect them to like try to help. You know what I'm saying? So like as an artist, I feel like you're people's superhero. You're their role model. So I feel like you have like a duty to make good music.
Only reason I disagree with that, because artists are not supposed to be role models. Some people may not like me saying that, but that's just a fact. Artists, athletes, entertainers, these people are not supposed to be role models because it's entertainment. Most of these people don't live what they're talking about, or don't.
No, but like it doesn't have to be like exactly like like moral. But like it's got to be like you just have to do your best in your music. You have to make the best music you possibly can.
See, it's funny y'all talking about this, because I'm sitting there listening, and so because because I'm always torn, and it's not because I never sit in the fence on any topic, you know, in general in life. But what you're talking about to me, because I do agree and I don't. So you're talking about what I was talking about, like with the white executives, is the culture vultures versus, you know, entertainment, and it's that weird line where it's like, to me, you know, I do things, whether it's, you know, buy into something or do something based off of what I know, or even if it's little I know, whatever, off of how genuine the person is. Like I'm going to take, for example, like Justin Timberlake. To me, in my eyes, phenomenal human being. If you've watched some of his shows, I've been to a couple of his shows, and like not only just how he interacts and the show that he puts on, like if you look at everything he does, I mean, from the inception of, you know, working with Timbo, who's, you know, one of my favorite producers of all, and engineers, just Justin Timberlake as a human being is just phenomenal. So it's kind of like, you know, for me, and it's not just because he's white, you know, I mean, there's other people, you know, but I look at it and go, man, you know, there's just something about him as a human, not because of course he's an actor, you know, he's an artist, you know, he does, I think he's got his own liquor brand now, you know, with his boy that he grew up with, and that's all. And even I just even kind of put the thought in my head as well. It's also how you treat the people near or around you. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. It's not because like you're saying, like with not being a role model, it's also not your job to have to put on everybody, you know, that you either grew up with either. But if people are able to, you know, you're able to trust them, and, you know, they're able to do certain things for you, you know, then you bring them on and they serve a legitimate purpose. And of course, then you have that great thing of the personal relationship. Going to, you know, entertainers in general, yeah, like, and I'm even talking past music. I'm talking music. I'm talking sports. I'm talking, you know,
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
not just music.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Even in all those categories, yes, kids look up, you know, to those type of figures. And I don't even want to get off on a tangent, but at the end of the day, it's up to. So one thing I learned about, and this is me. And hopefully I'm not offending anybody, in black culture, because I was submerged in black culture. I agree with the statement, it takes a tribe. Both my parents work, you know, so my sister, you know, kind of quasi, you know, raised me and would, you know, she wouldn't spank me, but, you know, if I did something wrong, you know, she'd, you know, oh, you gonna get in trouble, you know, and it was, you know, that healthy fear thing. And then, of course, you know, my grandparents raised me, and, you know, I had, you know, from my white biological side, you know, I had, because trust me, white and black people do things different. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I mean, as cliche as that sounds, it's the truth. So, you know, my dad's parents, my grandparents, you know, raised me a certain way, and, you know, held myself to a certain standard. And of course, my mom on the black side, you know, there's just the differences, but all those together, you know, helped raise me. You know, TV didn't raise me. You know, Bo Jackson didn't raise me. I mean, you know, I mean, so, and I think there's a responsibility on all those levels, you know, to accept as the tribe or parents or grandparents, and not let a iPad raise your kids. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Also, I'm okay. Look. I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like they should do the best as they're possible to master their craft. Because, like, think if you went to a basketball game and, like, LeBron James was just, he's not really playing for real, and he just shoot, like, people are watching every time. So I feel like you have to give your hardest, and, like, just so you give the world a show.
That I agree with. No, I no, in that aspect, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's different if you're injured or if you're sick or something like that. Even if you're an artist, you know, you always can't give your all. But, like, yeah, like, perfect example. If I went to a Justin Timberlake concert and he was just, like, you know, out there kind of doing, you know, doing something like, hey, you know, and I was like, well, I paid, you know, $400 for these tickets. You know, I mean, like, what? So that's what you're talking about, like, constantly. And see, that's also an internal thing. And see, that's also what I gauge off of people that I, you know, try to build relationships and, you know, work with, whether you're paying me or not, is, you know, yes, we all have different personalities, but how much quality and heart do you have? Like, are you doing this just to do it? No, I don't care. I mean, I'm not trying to, I know we're talking about music, but I build my relationships off of people, off of how they live, period. Because to me, I always told people, I work like I live like I work. I mean, Dre will tell you, I mean, like, you come to my house, I mean, I got a full-fledged music studio, I've got a custom pool, like, we can hang out. I mean, like, I'm the same way, you know, if we work in here, like, I want to, it's going to be professional, but I want to have a good time. You know, I want the vibes to be good. I want us to bust our ass, you know, but if you're going to come in here and be like, you know, okay, you hits a couple things. What are we doing? I mean,
Right.
you're not giving all of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's huge. I mean, but if you constantly do that, act in that fashion where you're not, then it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense. It's kind of segueing off, what you're saying. I don't want to deal with you. And why should anybody else?
But you got a lot of people out here just making money off trash. Just keep it honest. And
That's
it
the
works.
problem.
And it
That's
works.
the problem.
But
Like,
people
it's-
still listen to it. It's not on the artist or on us to be able to be a role model of these people, because it's not even entertainment music problem. It's a society issue.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
people now, it's just a fact. People don't think and act the same they did 10, 20 years ago. That's just a fact.
Who you telling?
Just going back to what you say, take a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Back before the crack era hit, that's kind of how black culture was.
Yes.
Everybody, your grandmama's best friend and your mom's best friend can whoop you, and she
Yep.
don't say nothing.
Yep.
Now she can't. This person can't even touch your kid because they'll call a restraining order.
Well, not even that. I mean, like now, I'm gonna get off on a tangent. Nowadays, even parents can't even raise their own kids as far. I mean, because I ain't gonna lie, I grew up in the era of, and I have to admit, my biological mom, I mean, she believed in spanking, so it wasn't none of that, hey, going time out, kind of nonsense. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now we're going to get into a whole other thing where, like, you don't want to do things out of complete anger. You want to do things with a level head. But at the same time, and this is music, sports, whatever. I mean, like, even with sports, every kid within the last, 10, 15, or actually more than that, probably 10 or 20 years, everybody was given a trophy. What the like really? Like, so you're not teaching that, because here's the thing. I hate, and most humans, not all, but most humans hate losing. And I don't care if we're in the studio and, like, something didn't pan out. I mean, that's a loss to me. I'm like, damn, but I look at that and go, all right, WTF. What can I be doing better? Like how can I get better off that? Or, I mean, like I said, I played ball in college. I still play ball 3 or 4 days a week. I mean, I don't like losing, but if I can say that, hey, I lost in a game and we just lost because we got outplayed. Okay, can we be doing something different? Just to be more competitive. But now if we lost because, Joe over here, who's technically the guard or, whatever, is throwing the ball to the other side, like literally, here, just take it. I mean, then, yeah, I'm going to be pissed. I mean,
Right.
So there's also that too. I mean, you just, I don't know. It's, like I said, I'm hype all the time. I mean, that's just my normal personality, and I'm always wanting to do, my motto in life is I'm always going to do better than I did yesterday. And it don't matter what I don't care if it's cooking. I mean,
Right.
I mean, like, I mean.
Yeah, but it's
People don't
a
have
lot.
passion like that anymore, like for what they do.
Well, a lot of people misconstrue my passion like, dude, this dude's a crackhead. I mean, I've never done drugs in my life, but I'm just always so passionate and so, kind of just, raw. But I mean, like when Dre and the studio came to the house, I mean, I was, I thought I was chill, hey, you need this, whatever, So, I mean, I know how to tone it down, but when it comes to like music or sports or certain things, man, like, I get it popping. I mean, and because it's good energy, as long as it's positive, good energy. I mean, I think that just kind of helps the environment, in my opinion.
Yeah, but out here, I'm just trying to go back to the point of we can't give people the responsibility of them not being able to get the best that they are, because that's just who they are. That's just who these people are.
Well, no, don't support it. Don't support them. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
don't support them.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like, it's always our choice to support and not support. But I can't get mad if a dude that sucks has more fans than me. I just got to figure out how to promote and market myself and make better music.
I'm not saying be mad.
No, I'm just saying in general. Not
I'm gonna tell you, I get mad. I'm like, how the hell? I mean, like, like, what kind of? And it's not mad like I'm necessarily mad at them. I'm mad at the environment of like, hold on now, and like, did their uncle know somebody? I mean, and I know you may never find the answer, but my brain is always clicking as far as, okay, I'm obviously doing something wrong. I mean, if I got quality product and I've got, and I think it's kind of segueing, like taking the both of what you all are saying and putting it together. It's kind of like, okay, I've got genuine quality product. I've got, per se a professional look or whatever, and we're talking about, artists, but I'm not really getting anywhere. You have to look at, and I have this conversation with artists all the time, and I've told them just what I've told you. You need to go, you need to go where you're uncomfortable. Because how many artists are really going into forums and just chopping it up like, hey, yeah, I'm just out of, I'm here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and, I'm just, I'm new here, and, I'm an artist, and not being, I'm not saying don't be proud of what you've done, but don't go in there, hey, listen to this, hey, listen to, I mean, because everybody's doing that, you know. But if you aren't navigating and doing things that make you uncomfortable in a safe way, then yeah, how bad do you want it?
Exactly. Like with basketball, like you always see somebody who's like a little, like got the edge on you a little bit. That guy was willing to do like that one exercise you didn't like, and he just, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he got better.
That's why he excelled. I mean, you know.
I always came back to that with basketball because when I was little, I would always look and be like, how in the heck? But then I would realize in practice, I wouldn't really go hard in some drills, and they would the whole practice. I was like, that's why he got better, because he actually tried in everything, which actually made him better as an all-around basketball player. And you don't think about that when you just, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like, you could be scared to be, you know what I'm saying? Public speaking was the one, like, that really got me, because if you're scared to, like, talk in front of people, you know what I'm saying, how are you going to rap in front of people?
I mean, because you got to, I mean, like, if you do kind of pop on whatever level, you got to perform. I mean, you know, in front of people. I mean, so not to be dumb. I mean, I know so for some, the music, if you have a DJ playing on, on the stage and all that, it can help, you tune out. But I mean, but you still got to look at the audience, But no, I agree. Like, basketball, because I mean, that's what I, did for a long time. I mean, that's the best way to put it, is I don't care if it's, music, sports, everything. I'm the first one there and last one to leave. And not just spinning my wheels. Like, I'm legit. I'm first one there, and I'll help, do things to clean up. If we go to the gym, if I got to use it, I'll clean up, but then I'm in there and I'm, warming my body up. I'm in there shooting, 100 free throws. I'm in there, doing a couple moves and trying to see if I can get my equilibrium off a little bit to see if I can adjust, if I do a spin move. It like first one to leave, all right, first one there and last one to leave.
So much to the game.
Yeah. But the same thing with the music. I mean, like, you've got to be able to put in work, and then not feel like you're spinning your wheels.
Like I said, that's the only reason how I got good at basketball. As you know, I was like there from the court, from morning to night. But the only reason I didn't get where I wanted to go is because I didn't keep doing it. I do it sometimes, but I wouldn't always say work every day because I didn't know how. Honestly, I didn't know what working hard really meant until I seen on YouTube a series called 10,000 Hours in the Lab what working hard really was.
Yep.
These dudes grinding 2-a-days like every day. Yeah. 2-a-days. 2 Asian dudes doing 2-a-days every day. Yeah. On the court, in the sand dunes, in the weight room, every day. Jump shot. Making, if you a hooper coming up and you can't make at least 80% of the jump shots in your drills, you're not gonna make it.
What? I mean, God, that's a lot of stuff to go in the game, dog.
No, I'm talking about
it could be like a center, dude.
No, like, I mean, but still in general though, still at least 80% in the drills.
Jump shots, you mean?
Whatever you do, however you score baskets.
I'd say like
if you're trying to get to the NBA, because if you're like my height and you're trying to go play college basketball, you have to be about at least like a 40 or 50 field goal % shooting.
Ish, yeah. I mean, 40's on the low side, yeah. I mean,
because when I'm saying you got to be a knockdown shooter if you're at my height, just to step on the court. And also know how to play, make, and run the offense. You gotta
be an athlete. You could be an athlete and have good fundamentals, and then like take the world by storm. It's really a lot to basketball. It's just how your body type is. It's really hard to say like what you need to do.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to it. I mean, because I didn't even play ball. I'm not by no means Jordan, but I kind of had like the Jordan story. Like, I didn't play ball in school until my senior year. That was it. That's all I played ball. And then I ended up going to Maryland, and I walked on. But that was because of my tenacity. I mean, believe it or not, because there's another story why the whole basketball thing. That's for another day. But the reason that Gary Williams put me on was because like I was just tenacious. I was there all the time. I genuinely wanted to be a part of the team. I just came to school there, and I just kept on and kept on. And I think, I obviously he saw something. I mean, I was third string. I mean, because it was Maryland, but he saw something in me. But I think it was also because, like, God, this dude, just like I did with my boy from TIC, I just kept calling. I wanted it. I really wanted it. And I was showing it. I wasn't just. But I was athletic. But I mean, there's a lot of different, because you can be athletic and have, some shit to you. And I mean, like, whether it's injury prone or whatever, or just have a shitty attitude and you don't make it. I mean, like, or you get on, you don't last long. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so there's many moving pieces. I'd rather, see, to me, and anything I do, I'd rather take somebody with heart that's willing to learn if they don't have those skills than to take somebody that's like naturally gifted and talented, because then they come with the biggest freaking attitude you've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, and they don't listen. They don't want to learn. Nah, why? Look at me.
It's gonna be weird to say, but that's why LeBron hasn't won more championships than he should have. Be honest with you, it's some other component to that, but just like from a non-objective, subjective standpoint, objectively look at LeBron's career and said, why hasn't he gotten more championships than he has right now? I'm
gonna tell you, because conscience is a motherfucker, if I can say that. Because I think the reason, if you think about it, he's from Ohio. He had all. I mean, of course, he was the number one person, in my opinion, because I watched Jordan and Magic and all them when I was a kid, and he was the biggest presence since Jordan. I mean, and I think that he wanted to do the right thing and build. I mean, because Cleveland on any facet, whether it's football, basketball, anything, hasn't won shit. I mean, so so he felt that, man, I got to bring my state up. I got to bring my people up, and I think for the longest time, and I'm not saying I don't want to make anything I do in life, I don't want an instant oatmeal, and just have it, ready. But I think sometimes, in my opinion, it's like, fuck, this shit's going to take like extremely too long. I mean, but with certain things, it has to take that time process. And with LeBron, he had to invest all that time in Cleveland to try to build that squad to where they could build a couple championships. Or no, I'm sorry, he had to leave and then come back and build those championships because he was trying to lay foundational work, and he was just like, this ain't working. I got to bounce. But that conscience was eating him up. I'm telling you, that's why he stayed at Cleveland, because he wanted to make something. And that's why if you don't own something, it's hard, because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that LeBron ain't intelligent, and when I say LeBron, I am speaking on LeBron, but I'm using this figuratively for anything you want to put in this. So when you don't fully own something, and like I've been involved in many companies, many projects, and if I don't either, and it's not about like trying to force people to do what I want to do, but if I don't have majority stake in something where I can say at the end of the day, you know what, we just got to do it. Just believe me and do it. It's hard because you're going hard, but then you're like, at the end of the day, it's not mine. I mean, I don't have majority ownership. So it's whatever the owner says. That's in anything. If that makes any sense. Or did I lose y'all?
No.
Okay.
Basically, if you don't own it, you're being owned.
And I don't mind that, but here's the thing. I've worked for companies that have been phenomenal where, didn't even own a piece of anything, but the input was allowed and it was used and everything just flowed. Because then you have those situations. Those are rare. But that's so going back to the LeBron thing, that's what he was facing, is that he was putting all his heart in. He was actually, like, anything I do, like I have the tenacity as if I am an owner. Like, what would I do? Because I'm also thinking strategically, like, what we need to do is going to cost money. So then when I bring it to ownership, or if I'm part owner, I can go, okay, are we willing to do this? Are we willing to spend this money? Are we willing to use this time? And I think that's what LeBron was trying to do. And at the end of the day, Dan, what's his face, the idiot of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah. He was just like, nope. And then he had his freaking son, even though he was small, now he's older, kind of like using him for like a Ouija board. I mean, I'm just like, dude, like, stick to what works. If LeBron's coming in, and yes, you don't want to throw all your chips as an owner and invest it in just one person, because if you lose, it's a bad thing. But, LeBron never, in my eyes, and I don't know him, didn't act like, he didn't care. If I give you $40 million, I don't feel that LeBron would have pissed it all away. Like if it was ownership stake kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so sometimes you got to trust the people you have around you, because and it doesn't matter if music, sports, whatever, or in personal life, because if you can't trust them, or you're just like side-eyeing them, they don't need to be around.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the honest truth. I mean, that's how I live my life. I mean, I don't have a lot of friends because, a lot of people are full of shit. I mean, and, it's not that I am mad that you're not doing what, I mean, like if you come to me and I say, hey, if I was, you're asking me, boom, 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 I do this. And then if you don't do any of what, my opinion that you asked for, I go, okay, I ain't offended. But if you come to me a second time and a third time and a fourth time and a fifth and 10th, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Go to somebody else. I mean, because what's the point? You know what I'm saying? To me, if you're not taking something from what our conversations are, then you're full of shit. I don't want to be around you. And then that's where the whole thing, especially in the music game, comes in and like, oh, you've changed. Oh, you're no. I mean, yes, you have changed, but it's like you haven't in a positive light. So yeah, you think that, you don't, give a crap about, your where you came from or what. Actually, I give a lot of crap where I come from, and I'd actually throw a crap ton of money into where I came from. But if y'all want to keep acting like a bunch of hoodlums and acting like y'all ain't got no sense, I'm not going to invest in you. That's a waste of time and money. What's the point? But now, if people are gonna do, whatever, I'll throw that cheddar out there. I mean, yeah, we'll make something happen, legitimately.
Said, if you can't invest in yourself,
put some gunshots up there, yeah. I don't like that. Like an AK-47 up there.
I mean, it's the honor, and the problem is that I don't believe in. It's the same thing with the critiquing, music. I don't just go out there and go, oh, you guys suck or whatever. I'm gonna come raw and be like, here's why this isn't happening. I mean, let's have these conversations. And I think the problem is that I don't care if it's politics, religion, music, sports, whatever. I think that we as human beings can come to the table and even if we disagree, have adult conversations. As long as, and I'll make sure I'm not purposely trying to put you down. So I'm not, trying to come out that way. If it comes out that way, that's not my point. But, I will still say it and try to say it respectfully, But if people can't take that criticism, it's going to be a hard life, man. I mean, it is.
I mean, that just goes back to how you're raised, right? It's, if you're raised being sheltered, when you first get out in the real world, when you're 18, 19, whatever, your culture shock. It's like you.
Yeah, that is true.
You see it with the with I know y'all know church kids.
I was just thinking that. Yep.
Every time you see it, especially the women when they get out in the real world, they doing any and everything now because they're the least taking off.
Well, and it's the thing too is that it's the natural human progress to want to like. I'm not saying good or bad, but thirst for knowledge. So if you, like you said, you've been sheltered and you've been, just kind of force-fed stuff, and you come out and you go, well, oh my gosh, there's McDonald's, and then there's this and there's that, and it's like, oh, I've never had this stuff. Well, let me just go over there and walk in. Oh, I smell the French fries and the burgers. Like what? I mean, and you're gonna curiously want to try it. I mean, it's natural human progression. Just to be inquisitive.
But the thing about the people that raise these people are they're only raising them from like a singular point of view. It's like the other point of view, which is kind of side of the real world, they purposely may not or just don't tell their kids, and it doesn't prepare them for when they get out in it. Because when you shelter somebody, they only know what's inside that shelter. They don't know if they can't peek their head out the shelter and look around and experience. They don't know what's outside. They don't know what's going to happen if they do this, what they're doing inside, outside.
So now you about to segue to something else. Because I'm thinking, as you're saying that, I'm thinking racism. I mean, because you got people that are literally taught from a perspective of racism or certain principles, that not to defend this individual person that was raised that way, but they don't know no better.
Yeah. That's just, but as a person on the other end of perceiving it, you just got to know that some people just raised like that, man. It ain't no changing it. And it's bigger, and be honest, it's bigger than that. It's not about the race, because it's other things going on in the world, even though it matters and it happens to have this negative connotation. It's a confusing concept in the first place, because what is race? Because you say, oh, I'm black. What on me is black? My hair, my eyelashes, my clothes, depends on what I'm wearing, but not my skin. I look brown. And think about it, I've been called black for years and years and years, when that's really a falsehood.
Well, yeah, it's a general, because we as humans, category and generalize everything.
I don't think that's the biggest problem by far. Like,
Oh no.
Say brown or black. I don't think it matters because we call them white. And
they're not white.
Nah,
that's the thing.
I mean, some of them are white.
I'm butter pecan.
We call them white. I think that's the least of our words, like what we call each other.
But it's confusion though, because what I'm getting back to is it's a category that they'll put you on there. It'll confuse you your whole life, and it goes back to it's like black people like kind of the only ones that really don't know where they really come from. That's just the fact of the matter, and that's just how it is. You say, "Oh, I'm African American." Where from Africa are you from? If you don't have ancestors or lineage that goes back there, you may be from America and you don't even know it. You may be from Asia, China, Sweden, Europe, because black, quote unquote, brown people we've been all over the globe at one point in time. We even ruled the Roman Empire at one point in time, believe it or not. If you dig back in history books and looked at what it's really about, because what they teach you in school, a bunch of white people there. No, it was us. It was us.
Yeah.
But we're growing up in confusion and being told lies all the time, just like with Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, whatnot.
Well, and I think, I think it's because, and it goes back to, this whole topic of, music and just in general. It's the whole uncomfortableness. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can say it. White people are they don't like confrontation. I mean, most humans don't like confrontation, but I'm talking about if you're talking about certain topics, white people get real sweaty, real, just and real, which like in the black culture, I mean, yes, I mean, I'm not saying that in the black culture that anybody's immune to confrontation, liking it or whatever, but I don't know, like even my wife can notice the differences in our culture, and she's not making fun or anything. She's like, oh my gosh, because like when I get around family, I talk a certain way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I'm at home, or even when I'm at home, I talk kind of odd or whatever. But I mean, it's like being a chameleon, and I think people do that is because to some degree they're trying to play into the hands of what environment they're in, but also too, I think that people like myself will do that because I know that people get uncomfortable. Like, if I went in there talking a certain slang and nothing unprofessional, but in a business meeting and just use certain words, like these white folks probably, oh my gosh, what is he saying? Like, I mean, they get seriously. I mean, trust me, I've been around for a minute, so I think it's the whole uncomfortable thing that we have to get past. I mean, because like I said, I'm not saying racism is cool. I'm not saying it should be acceptable, but we should be able, like somebody who per se, is a racist, there should be a conversation that we can all sit down and, yes, we may end up honestly figuring out that we were going to have to agree to disagree, but there should be a human, so to speak, calm conversation about our viewpoints. I mean, and I know that may seem naive, but I mean, I've been around a second. I mean, I've seen it done. I've been involved in certain stuff like that. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of, just being respectful, but removing your uncomfortableness is what it comes down to.
But the reason, or at least in my brain, white people may be uncomfortable with the conversation, the racism conversation is, they know in the back of their mind what they're doing is messed up. Or not specifically what they do or what their past ancestors have did. That's messed up.
Well, see, like in all honesty, let me tell you. So, I'm German and Native American because I actually did the 23andMe history ancestral line. But how can I say that? Because I think I talked to you that my stepmom and I used to, because my stepmom is almost 80 years old, and she was, I guess what they call now a tween, a young girl tween during segregation. She used to have to ride in the back of the bus, my mom. So, of course, as being thrust into different, not only the black culture, but different cultures, and, I've always been enamored, and that's not like sugarcoat anything, but I've been enamored in like how I can't fathom being racist, but I want to understand, like you said, like you've been taught, you've been put in this, box. With that said, I believe deeply in failure, as far as when you fail, if you're in the studio or if you're doing this or doing that, you're not doing well in basketball and you're failing, you take that and you learn, all right, what WTF, how do I stop this or change this and do better? So the reason I say that is because, and I know I'm probably going to catch some heat for this, I can't change if anybody in my lineage did something freaking stupid. I'm not saying that it should be just brush it off. I'm not saying that either. But I should not be condemned for the acts of my forefathers. Now, if I'm continuing that and I'm acting in those manners, you daggone right, you should take me out and beat the crap out. That I'm just being real. But now if we want to have conversations about, and fortunately nobody in my lineage ever did anything like that with slavery or whatever, owning slaves. But, talking about it and understanding it from a historical perspective and figuring out how do we nix this? How do we fix this? Obviously to say racism isn't around is just an ignorant statement. But, with that said, learning how to do anything better or stop and changing a whole entire viewpoint or changing a game is huge. But I think, and I'm not trying to brush it because I've had deep conversations with my mom, and I say stepmom in conversation. That is my mother. She raised me since I was 5, I'm very close to her. But even she taught me that, because my mom was a doctor. My mom was a surgeon. And of course, she came up, with my stepbrothers and sisters, and of course, this is in the 70s and 80s and all that. And, my mom never cried poor mouth. She only told me these stories because I asked. She didn't even want to really tell me, not because she was ashamed, but just because she didn't want to put it out there. It's almost kind of like the law of attraction. You attract what you give, kind of what you put out there. But by asking her these different things, she told me you base your opinion or how well you like or don't like somebody off of the interactions, like how they treat you, like either one time or all the time. You base them on that. Like, don't worry about, because when she was a doctor, she was she's like you. She has the same thing. Don't call her black and don't call her African American. But anyways, but she was a black female in a medical male dominant field. And she used to have, like, when she was in charge of whatever operating room, she would actually have males of different ethnicities from other countries that, were, here as, American doctors, and would try to push her out the way of her own surgeries because she was a female, and she held herself to a high standard. My whole point of saying this is that, she taught me, we need to stop, kind of condemning each other for things that have happened in the past, as long as we're not repeating them. Because if I treat you, away from way back in the day, that's freaking wrong. And like I said, you take me out in the street and, beat the shit out of me. But I think that, understanding that these things happened, and having legitimate, not only conversations, but movements towards better things, that's what's huge. Because I think if we, on both sides, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, if we keep holding on to this anger and bitterness and, just constantly trying to go at each other, no, but, my situation's worse than it. It's all horrible. I'm not trying to minimize. I know some people, you're minimizing. No, it's all freaking horrible. We need to learn to come together. And, numbers is power. And I don't mean like money numbers. I mean numbers of people, numbers, of a collection. That is huge. Doesn't matter if you're trying to build a company. Doesn't matter if you're trying to do music, or trying to build a fan base. Doesn't matter if you're trying to build a team. Numbers is huge. And everybody kind of on a similar page, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. But also, it's kind of from the black side of things, I guess, it's a falsehood of, all of us were enslaved. No. If you really look back down at the numbers and the facts, it really wasn't that many of us that were enslaved the much of us that are across the globe. It's just the fact of the matter. In history, they tell you, a lot of black people were slaves and whatnot. No, it wasn't really that many if you do your research and look back. So it's kind of like another confusion, like, my ancestors were slaves, my ancestors got beat, my family got beat. If you look back, your family might not have been on that list, bro. And that's just what it is. So it's like all this anger coming from a falsehood of what's being portrayed. But also coming together, I just made the like realization like that's really not going to happen because it's always going to be one person that's going to be on the outskirts or that's not going to think or want to be with the group, and that's fine with me.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing because there's always that one person. Yeah, you're
everywhere, right. And so it's just who you are and whatever culture you find yourself being with, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, wherever. If you don't know it already, figure out where you come from and just be good in your household. And make sure that is the priority. Because you can't worry about everybody and everything else if you ain't good. Figure out where you come from, where you're at, where you're stationed at, and that's fine. Because whoever father, if you know or don't know, that's who you come from, and your mother, of course. But your father is the one to push the seed out into the atmosphere and to your mom's anyway and make sure how you're born. So that's where you come from if you don't know any history beyond that.
Well, listening to you talk, and it's kind of where my brain went, is that there's this, and I usually tell a lot of music-minded people, especially because if you're trying to get a fan base, there's a book called Tribes. It's by Seth Godin, and it pretty much goes, it's a nice little, thin book. And Seth Godin's a famous author. He's a great author. And it's about business, and it goes into like building your actual tribe, whether it's, because if you think about like a company, it doesn't matter if you're making cars. You got to have a tribe that actually values your product or whatever, and then you work within that. You kind of build that tribe, that following. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like, you have to be, start small and then, concentrate on, the smaller picture, so to speak, and then, branch out from that and just find like-minded people. That's in anything, Yeah,
because there's a lot of people that's just messed up out here, man, mentally and some physically. And that's just a way because of what society portrays on TV and internet and whatnot. But it got all these people thinking this is how they should feel, act, dress, and be, when being you is all that matters. But some people don't even know who they are, so they can't even do that. And that's where all the confusion around the world comes in. Oh, I want to be like these people.
Yeah,
they're cool. They make money. They're rich. They're wealthy. You don't know what they had to do to get that. You don't know.
Yep.
And you don't know what these entertainers have to do behind the scenes and get all that money, all that fame. They may got to do some strange stuff that you're not willing to do, or you think you're willing to do, until you present it with the opportunity. Then you're like, oh, I don't even want the fame no more. Let me just make my money on the side. I'm good. I'll sit in this corner. So all the glitz and glamour ain't so gold. As they say, money doesn't buy happiness. That is a fact. Money, you have to have money to make you stable. But all the money and fame that comes with it and whatnot, trying to be at the top, you may be dope enough to get there, but in order to get there, you may have to do some other stuff to get to that level, and that's just, you might just want to just eject yourself out of it. Not saying you can't get there without doing that, but it's still,
money is just an enhancement. And what I mean by that, it's either going to enhance your happiness or it's going to enhance your demise. That's all. That's all. If you, and I'm not saying you have to be perfect, in order to be happy, and, but if you don't have, financial, sense, and, you kind of have mental health, issues, depression and all that, and you get some money, you're going to feel that euphoric high of, oh, I got money and I can go out here and do stuff. But trust me, that however long that little, what they call high lasts, when you come down off that, you're still facing your demons. Like if that's the case, you know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of people, that's how they lose a lot of their money, like the lottery winners and, the people who get money real fast,
If you don't build yourself up and don't know who you are as a person, and you're trying to go out and achieve something that's greater than yourself, and you do it, but you don't know who you are and where you're grounded at in the process, that's what kills you every time. Yeah. Just think, if you coming up as an artist or a hooper and you have anxiety, or you really don't know who you are except what the field you're going into. You only know yourself as a musician, as a basketball or sports player. You don't know that you like to read books or play instruments or want to know how to, or like operating computers. You don't know that because you're just really focused on doing that.
You've been in that tunnel.
You've been in the bubble.
Yeah.
You've been in the bubble of success and destruction. That's kind of what that's called. Because you're getting what you want, but you're losing yourself in the process. That's where you see all these mental breakdowns from these famous people because they're just in a bubble just going, all right, boom. I don't know who I am still, but I'm going to get on TV. I'm going to build up.
Right. And they still got to maintain an image that whole time. So, like, they have to keep on doing, like, just so people see them as a person they know and love and all those fans. You still have to be that guy, even if you're not really him. You still trying to figure yourself out.
Well, I mean, it's I'm gonna bounce off that, and it's like, especially if you're not comfortable, with who you are, or don't know who you are. It's how can I explain this? I'm very well versed in mental health too, because I'm a combat vet, but that whole saying that it's lonely at the top, to a degree, there's a lot of truth to that, because meaning that, like, for example, you've got take like if you're a lottery winner, like I just said with that money, you just change out the money for fans if you're an artist. So you got people in the stands, and you get that high, and when the curtain falls, depending on who you have around you, or I don't know, some people may have a lot of yes men, or people, and you have this mental stigma within yourself, and you're just like, man, the fans love me, and I just had that high, but I'm coming down, and like, who am I? Like, who really loves me? Who really, that's a motherfucker. I mean, to sit there and kind of be, I always tell people in life in general, if you can't, I like I said, I'm hype all the time, but I've learned as I've gotten older, if you can't sit and enjoy yourself, whether it's through silence or reading a book or whatever, and you can't stand yourself being to yourself, like loving yourself, just being by yourself. Yeah, you and I'm not making fun, I'm not making light of it. You're gonna have a hard time, because everyone else, like, oh yeah, you're the greatest, you on TV, or if you're a sports player, and don't get me wrong, everybody wants to have that you want to be told, hey, you're doing a great job, or hey, you're awesome. Everybody wants to hear that, but how much are people just coming to you and saying that because of who you are? I mean, like they're not trying to find out who you are. They just on TV, he's dunking, and he's got money in the mansions and all that, and I just want to know you just because you're famous. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, there's no realness to it. So then when you're by yourself, you're like, man, I got tons of fans, but I'm miserable.
Because that bed sometimes only got one person in it, and that's you. And if you know that you feed off of people, but you're the other person, that you like being by yourself, and that's where you get your energy, you have to know that. Because it's a lot of artists that are introverts, they just may not say it. And what introverted kind of being means, in a short definition anyway, is you are kind of self-motivated, self-driven. You can move by yourself. You don't have to feed off of other people to get your energy. You don't need the attention. Or being an extrovert is kind of, you feed off of other people. You like being around people. You get that high off that. That may seem like a small thing to know, but that's really major. Because operating in different spaces, you may get chastised for not want to be around everybody and being to yourself. And you got to know who you are to be like, that's just who I am. And I got to be okay with that. And I got to recognize that other people may not be okay with that, but they don't matter. And in regards of me, anyway. Long as I'm respectful, long as I'm in the room not being an asshole, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And you have to evaluate yourself every day. Every day you got to say, all right, what have I done good? What have I done? What do I need to do to get better? Because it's a constant, in order to grow, you got to constantly update update your toolbox or update your computer, so to speak. You got to look at inside and say, all right, what do I need to do better today that I didn't do yesterday? Do I need to start contacting a little more people? Do I need to start doing some more assignments? Do I need to make some more songs? Do I need to make some more graphics? Whatever you do in your personal life or in your career, you just got to constantly update yourself and say, hey, what have I done great and what I need to do to get better?
Right. Always remind yourself of the basics, because when you lose those, you start falling off. You really got to remind yourself of the basics every day, even especially with stuff like school and math. you don't, you know what I'm saying, if you don't practice it every day and go back over it every day, you're not gonna retain any of that information, like he said.
Don't use it. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Every time, 365, man.
You always gotta make sure you're using your mind. That's how people get an edge on you. Like, oh, he's so smart. It's because he's challenging himself every day.
I think the brain is a muscle. So if you don't work it out, exercise it, it's not gonna grow.
Yeah.
It's like a jump shot. It's a constant motion. If you don't practice it, you will not get better. It will not stay.
Well, even when you're playing sports or doing anything, whether it's even lifting, it's called muscle memory.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the brain is a muscle. I'm going to say it again. The brain is a muscle. If you are listening to this, you probably haven't been doing it. If you do, great job. Work out your brain. Work out your brain. That's how you get more smarter. Now, intelligence, that may be a different conversation, but at least trying to get more smarter, get more knowledge, you got to work out your brain.
Yeah.
And I guess it's time to wrap it up. So, people, shout out your social medias, I guess. Start with you, since you're the guest.
You can get a hold of me on Instagram is mrheffd. That's mrheffd. On Facebook, you can find me under heffd music. And I'm trying to think of what else. Those are the main two platforms to get at me. And I always answer everyone. So if you Facebook message me or Instagram me, I respond immediately. So,
all right, Zoe.
young_Pluto08 Instagram. Follow that. I got some music coming soon too.
All right. And as always, you can reach your boy at RETRODR.E on Instagram, Retro Dre on Facebook, Retro Dre _ on Twitter. And if you want to follow the podcast, follow d.z.n.podcast on Instagram, DZN Podcast on Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We got video a little bit now, man. We going to be putting out some more stuff soon. And look for us on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud maybe in the future again. Who knows?
Can I make one more plug?
Go ahead.
Everybody look out. It's going to start on Instagram. It's the Own Yourself, Be Discovered. I'm doing videos now, and it's right now heavy concentrated on music publishing, but they're going to be 2-3 minute videos, and then I can expand from that once everybody starts really telling me what they want for the music publishing stuff. So that's coming in the next couple weeks.
And all right, thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for being in tune and enjoying what you have heard / seen. And we appreciate y'all, because without y'all, we would not still be doing this. Or maybe, but who knows? And anyway, let's get here with this outro music, and we will be saying
motherfucking beat on. Well, this is gonna be the standard outro.
I don't like it, so why not? part is a little bit too long. That part right there is a little bit too long. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Look. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out. DZN podcast going out of the house, out of the car, out of the studio, out of everywhere that you know that we gotta go. It's the DZN podcast. Outro for your ass. DZN podcast. Outro for your ass. It's the DZN podcast. Outro for your ass. All right, appreciate y'all, and we go.